So thanks once again for dropping by the channel. If you like the content, if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, share the video if you enjoyed it, if you felt it was useful. Now let's get into this. So I was thinking to myself there the other day. This was actually like literally yesterday, the other day, about Usyk Chisora. And it was kind of like, when the fight was announced, I talked about it, I gave my 2 cents on it, and I said this, that, and the other. Then I was thinking, I only done a video the day before about Usyk sparring Dave Allen. The fight gets announced. As is such the way with my luck with this fight, that the minute I say one thing, something else happens. But it got me thinking that Dave Allen, in terms of an opponent, or in terms of a sparring partner for Usyk, ain't too bad. Chisora is definitely better than Dave Allen. I think that's fair to say. But in terms of someone who's going to be durable, someone who, if his sparring stories are to be believed, he's a decent sparring partner. Obviously in the ring, when he's in there against a top level opponent, he never lets his hands go. But apparently in sparring, he can be quite useful. So I was thinking that's not a bad sparring partner for Oleksandr Usyk, Dave Allen. And I started thinking to myself, right, who's Chisora going to fight? Or who's Chisora going to spar? And I went out and talked to Mark from Unrivaled Boxing, and we both agreed that, and we say this is the best because Usyk is such a strange style to mimic. For a heavyweight especially, even for a big guy, even for a cruiserweight, he's a strange style to mimic. You're talking about a guy, a very big man, who's very light in his feet, who has a very, very high work rate. He had decent punching power. He's not a massive puncher. He wasn't a massive puncher, a cruiserweight, but he's not feather-fisted, and is good on the back foot moves. And you're trying to think, like, I'm sure you could find back foot movers in the heavyweight division, southpaw, but can you find any that short? In around Usyk's size? Very unlikely. You're thinking of a lot more bigger guys, So I just chatted to Mark from Unrivaled Boxing about this. Shout out to him. His channel is there if you haven't, go over and give him a look. And we both agreed that the best sparring partner for Chisora is a guy he's already fought and lost to, which is Ajay Kabayel. Now, Ajay Kabayel is not a southpaw. Alright, that's the elephant in the room. Ajay Kabayel's stance is not southpaw. But let's look at the heavyweight division. How many southpaws are in around that height, that box on the back foot, that move like Usyk, that have that kind of work rate, I should say? There aren't any. Not that I can think of. The only one that kind of springs to mind in terms of the movement, not necessarily the work rate, would be Artur Szpilka. Now, Artur Szpilka is not a poor man's Usyk. That is putting it mildly. Artur Szpilka is an old, blind dog's Usyk. That's the best way to describe it. Artur Szpilka never particularly good. Did give Deontay Wilder a lot of problems, and that is one of the reasons why I think that if Usyk fights Deontay Wilder, I'd be backing Usyk to win that fight, because Szpilka can do that just by movement, and Szpilka is a lot heavier. Or at the time I think he was in the 230s. So slower on his feet than Usyk. Not as skilled, just not as good as Usyk. So when I looked at that, and I was thinking, yeah, Usyk would probably have a good shot against Deontay Wilder. We've seen Chisora deal with Szpilka very handily. That has to be said. He handled Szpilka much more emphatically and much better than Deontay Wilder did. Albeit, yes, that was a faded Szpilka. It's a Szpilka who had been stopped in 4 rounds by Adam Kalnacki. But still, Chisora had to go in there and get the job done. This is not a prime Chisora, lest we forget. So in terms of sparring partners, they're the 2 main guys that I'd be looking at. If I was in, and I forget who's training Chisora, and this is one thing as well that I said in my live stream the other night, was that Chisora, when he left Don Charles, he moved on to Dave Colwell. Now, Dave Colwell, I think, done some good work with Chisora. Definitely had him punching a lot more cleaner, a lot more effective. He just had him looking a little bit more refined as a fighter. Chisora is what he is. He's long in the tooth now. He's had plenty of fights, plenty of tough fights. In terms of improving Chisora, you're not going to see a drastic improvement at this stage in his career. But in terms of just overall technique, he looks better than I've seen him for a long time. This is a man who about 2 years ago, people were saying, give him, 100 grand to fight Joe Joyce and let him sail off into the sunset. Seriously, that's what people were saying. He goes and fights Carlos Takam, beats Takam. He's in pay-per-view with Dana White. Now he's in pay-per-view again with Usyk. Whether that fight should be pay-per-view or not remains to be seen. I'll touch on that now in a separate video, I should say. But Chisora just keeps on coming. In terms of sparring partners, as I said, Usyk has a much easier time of it getting guys like Dave Allen in to spar than Dereck Chisora. Maybe if he wanted to look close to home. Do you know something? I might even say this guy, although he's probably a bit too small. But I would even maybe say Isaac Chamberlain. You know, Isaac Chamberlain can box a bit. You know, so there's some of the guys that if I was in Team Chisora, because I always find it interesting, you know, who guys are going to spar, what way they're going to go, and the different styles of opponents and stuff like that. So when I was looking at that, I was thinking maybe Chamberlain, Caballel, and bear in mind both those guys are orthodox fighters. I accept that, but as I said, you're going to be very hard pushed to find some southpaws. Maybe Spilka, but you do wonder what does Spilka have left, even as a sparring partner. Seriously, even as a sparring partner at this stage in Spilka's career, what does he have left? Because he barely scraped through a win against Mariusz Wach a little while back. He was down in that fight, and then he fought a cruiserweight. I think he won a split decision. Might have been this year or the end of last year, and he was down in that fight as well. So Spilka's not been looking too great as of late at all. Well, pretty much ever really. So they're kind of some of the ideas that I would give if I was in Chisora's camp, because it'd be interesting to see who he gets in to spar for Oleksandr Usyk. Very interesting. Usyk, we know what he's doing, but Chisora is a different kettle of fish altogether. In terms of how I see this fight going, my opinion on it is not changing. I think Usyk is going to win this fight on points. I think that we would see a more competitive fight if we had a crowd in there. We would. And the reason I say we'd see a more competitive fight is because Chisora is really a fighter who thrives off the energy of the fans. He really does. We've seen that in the past from him, that he really comes alive when the crowd are chanting his name. You take the crowd out of the equation and it's a gym environment, you know, empty arena. Will he be motivated sufficiently to go in there and get the win? I don't know. I'm sure he'll go in there and try and get the win, but will he be motivated to take the bull by the horn? I guess that's more what I'm asking. Will he be more motivated to take the bull by the horn, or will he just kind of decide, you know what, after a few rounds I'll give it a go. If I don't win, I'll just, you know, go through the motions and get through 12 rounds. Could happen, but I hope it doesn't. I hope we see a fired up Chisora. Those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours below. Who do you think Chisora should get into his camp for sparring? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Of course, if you guys are new to the channel. I know a lot of people have come over from Hatman. Big up to him. I hope you are all liking the content. And yeah, we keep this channel rolling. You know, we're 2,300 and probably 40, 50. So we're moving. Now, this channel is growing, man. You know, we are going places, and you know, I got some great fans. I got some great subs. I really do, and I got to shout out all you guys. I got a big use all up. These all know who you are. He's locking into my live streams. I got a big use all up, and yeah, shout out to all you guys. I've been G-Man. I'll talk to you. Peace.